Now back to our guest, Chairman of Republicans Overseas Israel, Marc Zell, and former Israeli diplomat to the United States, Yoram Ettinger. Yoram, back to you. Your take on the U.S. effort to end the PA's payment to families of terrorists. How serious is it? How much of a priority is it? And how important is it?
Well, the main issue has to do with the lack of American understanding that Palestinian state or promoting the Palestinian state would severely undermine America's best interest. And the reality suggests in the Middle East that should there be a Palestinian state west of the Jordan River, it would yield the demise of the pro-US Hashemite regime east of the river, which would transform Jordan into a chaotic, uncontrollable state, just like Libya, Syria, Iraq, and Yemen. Such a reality would play into the hands of America's enemies and rivals, for instance, the Ayatollahs of Iran, ISIS. Certainly, it would enhance the influence, the stature of China and Russia in the Middle East, and it would cause a ripple effect from Jordan into the Arabian Peninsula, potentially causing global American economic crisis, because the control of the exportation of oil from the Persian Gulf would be transferred from the pro-American Sunni Arab countries to the anti-American Ayatollahs of Iran. Therefore, any American support of the trend or the policy of establishing a Palestinian state is counterproductive, working against the interest of the U.S. and for the interest of America's enemies.
Now, emphasizing the pay for slay, Antony Blinken is really being pressured to do something against it. Yoram, what's the timeline for this? Do we know anything already or not yet?
I have no idea, but once again, it's an American law. There is an American law which prohibits transfer of money to the Palestinian Authority as long as they provide allowances to families of terrorists. But more important than the law, the mere idea that the Palestinian Authority funds families of terrorists, in addition to its own sponsored hate education and its own sponsored incitements in official mosque, that tells us plenty about the profile of the potential Palestinian state. Namely, it's going to be a rogue state. Why would the U.S. strive to add another rogue entity into the boiling Middle East? That's an issue which should be debated, because this is a clear and present danger to the United States.
Yoram, it definitely should. Now, Marc, and what about Herzog's speech to Congress today? What reactions will his speech garner, and what's to be expected?
Well, first of all, I mean, he's going to be warmly welcome in the by both parties in the Congress, now that the 9 extremists are boycotting his speech. Israel has continues to enjoy a very strong support of congressional leaders. But I'd like to add something to Yoram's excellent commentary on the Palestinian situation. And I'll be a little bit more blunt about this. This administration is not interested in any pay for slay repeal. They have upgraded the status of the Palestinian Affairs Office at the embassy in Jerusalem. They have renewed payments to not only to the Palestinian Authority, but to the United Nations UNRWA, the United Nations Refugee Organization that deals only with Palestinian refugees, so to speak. They have restored the United States to membership and active membership in the United Nations Human Rights Council, which is openly and aggressively anti-Israel, pro-Palestinian. There is nothing in the United States policy towards the Middle East or to Israel, which shows any kind of balance. In the strategic area, in the military area, that's another story, and Yoram can comment on that. But in the Palestinian area, this administration, as it does in other areas, simply flaunts the law. The Taylor Force Act has simply been disregarded, and payments have been made in hundreds of millions of dollars to the Palestinian Authority and its affiliated organizations. This is simply unacceptable, but it reflects the radical progressive policy of the Obama wing of the Democratic Party. It's sad. I hopefully the Democrats will come to their senses. The fact that they've now changed their mind about inviting our prime minister to the United States to meet with President Biden is a positive sign. I hope that will continue, because the way it's going now, it's totally lopsided and totally unfair and dangerous for the region.
Well, gentlemen, tense days for U.S. Israel relations. Marc and Yoram, thank you so much for joining us today.
Great to be here, Amit.